Hey dude, I just came up with a movie idea. I don't know how we can do it, but imagine this guy who arranges this like really big proposal for his girlfriend, but it's like one of those big public ones, like in a cinema or at the like rugby stadium, and like everybody like is looking at her, and then she says yes, and everybody's like really happy or whatever. But then But then they get in the car afterwards and she's like, I'm not marrying you. And then they get into this argument about like, what was I supposed to say no in front of hundreds of thousands of people or whatever. I don't know. I think that could be really funny. What do you think? The only thing is we're going to have to find some sort of public thing that's doable but not too like expensive to do. Yeah, tell me what you think.
Welcome to our new series On the Page. It's a series where we take a look at the screenplays of our recent short films. Today, we're looking at public engagement through the lens of concept. And whoa. Hold up. Spoilers ahead, so if you haven't seen the film yet, go do that. Look, go, just click on the thing right there. I'll wait. I'll be here. Have you gone yet? No? Cool, now that you're back. Hi, I'm Mark.
And I'm Yaku.
Let's get into it.
What inspired this film?
When I was first year, I helped a friend of mine do this thing where he was proposing to his girlfriend in the movie theater. So we made this like fake trailer, and then he like walks in after the trailer, lights go on, he proposes. She said yes. And I was like, that's, it's cute and whatever. But what if she said no? But that just got me thinking, like, public engagements are like blackmail, Because, like, how are you going to say no when there's, like, hundreds of people around?
Yeah.
And it's always the person who's being proposed to's fault when they say no. Because it's like, this guy or this girl went to such trouble to set this whole thing up, and you're just like, no.
Yeah.
And that's unfair. So that's basically where it came from. So after we decided we liked the initial idea and we're going to write a script about it, we needed to find a venue for this public engagement to happen. We needed somewhere that's still like big and open and extravagant enough for the idea, but that wouldn't break our budget. We knew that we were going to make this as like a very low budget type film, so we started thinking of places that could potentially work. There was an aquarium at some stage, there was a mall at another stage, but then eventually we came up with this.
Welcome to the most exciting part of filmmaking.
Writing!
You got that right. We're writing public engagement.
So how do we write? You know what? I was watching The Amazing Race with my brother, and then this couple win the leg of the race, so they were the first people, and then the guy proposes right there in front of like the host, and the other teams are like still coming.
Nah, fam. But that's exactly what this short is about, right? Like, it feels kind of messed up to propose to someone in a place where they can't say no.
Yes. But I mean that
you can't say no in that.
Because it's like on TV.
The race, you're guaranteed you're gonna go into the next leg of the race.
Yes.
And what if they're like, nah?
But I think that's a good idea. If we invent a TV show, then there only has to be like 2 people at the end of this race, and a few camera people.
That's so funny.
But then she can like look at the camera as she's like.
That's amazing.
Is that it?
Yeah.
That's gonna be it.
Cool, so here we are on the page. We're in Arc Studio Pro. If anyone wants to know, it allows me and Yaku to collaborate as we're writing. If you'd like to download the script, it's in the description below. Check it out. So we start off here with, it's shot like a reality TV show style TV program. We're seeing the action through the TV's camera's lens. And that's just a way to show to the reader, this is the type of language that we're using. It's a reality TV show. We're setting that up straight away to emphasize the aforementioned concept that we originated. After we establish the 2 characters, Siobhan and Karabo, we go to Jason and Vugala like they would do in a reality TV show program like The Amazing Race, where they cut back and forth between the two teams and who's going to get there first. And that's very much established from the get-go in the writing. We cut to the chase, literally, like they would do in a reality TV show.
As the last two teams approach the finish line on this auspicious day, the 20th anniversary of the spectacular journey, they put themselves in line to win the grand prize of 1 million rand. But the grand prize would not compare to what one of those teams could win tonight.
So in a normal spec script, you would try to guide the reader's imagination through the words that you use to describe the world, right? In this film, we decided to physically write drone, close up on host, and then we describe what happens in that shot. The idea with that was because, well, number one, we knew we were gonna shoot it ourselves, and number two is that reality TV always uses a crane or a jib or something to up their production value. And while we were writing, we were thinking, okay, again, within our limitations, what do we have access to? And I have a drone. So we were like, that's our thing, And also because reality TV has this thing, and we know it's an established trait that The Amazing Race does, we decided to just physically write drone, then describe what the drone sees. Close up on host, then describe what the host says. That's why we decided to go this route.
Bravo, Siobhan! Welcome to the end of this journey. So, what do you think of the decor?
I mean, it's beautiful.
You're the first to cross the finish line.
We have here a reality TV beat. Tension rises for way too long. Beats are used in scripts to show a moment of decision. They're also used to show a pause. It's almost what drama is measured in. And because we have this concept of this reality TV show upon which the story takes place, we thought it'd be funny and very clear to the reader if we show that this is a reality TV beat and it rises for way too long. So this isn't a normal beat that you see in a script. This is an elongated one where they stretch it out for just too long and it becomes sort of hyper real. It really adds to the fact that it's reality TV, but we're not in reality. This is sort of heightened. All of those sort of small choices in the wording and the script really will guide a reader as to how it plays out, how it's going to play out.
Yeah, and I mean, that always happens in every TV show. So it's very relatable. A lot of us, when we see this, we're like, okay, yeah, duh. Which again, just adds to the sort of realism, this could be a real TV show.
All of these sort of dissections of a reality TV show come from that original concept of, we're going to show this sort of public engagement. How do we make that public? Oh, a TV show, that aligns that perfectly. So it's really doing a deep dive into the conventions of a reality TV show, and we use them to our advantage.
Karabo, would you like to take over?
Thank you, Jerome. From the moment I met you, I knew that our love wasn't just love. I've gotten to know you so much better during this journey, and I've gotten to know your soul. And I know that our souls are intertwined.
So, looking at Karabo's proposal here, it's incredibly cheesy, but it's cheesy on purpose in the context and concept of a reality TV show. If you were to take this dialogue and to put it into any other concept, it would be sort of schlocky cheesy, not very sort of intentionally cheesy. But because the whole script, the whole film is through this lens of a reality TV show, it really speaks to how Karabo thinks and sort of that emotional blackmail that we have, that we spoke about earlier on. This is the fantasy, when it's supposed to be reality TV. There's that nice sort of juxtaposition there. And the way we can see that start to sort of shift is we have another reality TV beat. He looks nervously into camera, then back at Siobhan, speaking to those other sort of like reality TV beats where they're drawn out for way too long. And you can see that as we're writing, we're thinking about the editor of the show, and he's really elongating these ridiculous beats. And then as soon as he says, will you marry me? We're like a kind of real beat. You know what I mean? Like sort of all pretense is kind of dropping for this sort of small moment, and you're starting to see the cracks in this sort of construct.
Yeah, and then we also write, the cameras are still on her. Just, keeping on that whole thing that we were saying. The smile gets bigger, but less real.
But it's reality TV.
Yeah. Exactly.
Never before in my 20 years of doing this job, and only this job, have I ever seen such honesty.
So when the host here says, in all my 20 years of doing this job and only this job, that comes out of the concept of this reality TV show. And that little joke really highlights how every single idea needs to be the macrocosm of the concept. So we were thinking, it's a reality TV show. Oh, there needs to be a host. Oh, the hosts are all sort of larger than life. And have we ever seen one do anything else except that thing? No, not really. And that's where the sort of joke came from. So you sort of extrapolate from that initial concept, but it all has to sort of trace back to that sort of unified idea, that nugget that you had at the core.
And that's why you should choose us for the 20th season of The Spectacular Journey.
So then we get to the audition tape, and this whole section, the audition tape, came from the need to, show a little bit more backstory on the characters, show a little bit more of the dynamic between them. And we, through trying to figure out how we're going to put this in without it being all, exposition-y and not making sense, we realized that there's this thing called an audition tape, which people have to do in order for the producers to narrow the pool of potential contestants down to the final ones who eventually get on the show. And we realized that Karabo would literally be pitching this idea from the beginning, which again would add to the producers thinking that, yes, we should get these people on the show.
And then you can propose, and then she says yes, right? And then the host is like, oh, it's so beautiful. We prepared this montage of him telling us, or all the setup. Then we play the setup.
A personal video.
Yes.
Then we play the setup.
And there can be a voiceover where he's talking all mushy about her.
That's so good.
And then it's join us next season for blah blah blah. Cut to them going to the I'm not marrying you.
And then we see this dynamic between the two where, the actors did a really good job, but even in the script we wrote here, the lighting is terrible. Again, referencing the camera, the quality of the video is bad. And then while they're saying the dialogue, we write, pointing to the camera, and that's why you, pointing at themselves, should choose us. And that really fits with the conventions of these sorts of things, how people would do it, and just allowed us to really add more perspective to these characters and show that Karabo has this overly romantic idea of how the world works, and he just wants to show the whole world how eager he is to marry Siobhan.
Yeah, and I think that also it's a private video in their home, but it's being shown in a sort of public space. So I think there's that interplay then again of the public and the private.
Well, that's it for the 20th season. And I look forward to seeing you again for another spectacular season of The Spectacular Journey.
And then Jerome signs off the TV show and we see these credits, And as I mentioned on the timeline episode of Public Engagement, which you can watch up there if you haven't already, we added these credits and adverts in the edit. We didn't add them in the scripting stage, but we added them in the edit. But even doing that, you've seen the film and you know that the adverts actually connect to something else in the film. So even though we didn't script it at scripting stage, we actually scripted it in the edit, which is also a very important thing to consider while making your movie. And then when it goes here from this is now reality, not reality TV, that's where we really get the sense that, okay, things have changed. And the way we interpreted that while we were doing the shoot was that now, the aspect ratio gets smaller. Now we're going to be doing locked off tripod shots instead of the handheld that we were doing throughout the TV portion. Now the depth of field is much closer. It's all the shift to we actually breaking away from the conventions that we set up during the TV portion, and now we're doing reality or more cinema, the way you would see a film normally when you watch a film and you're supposed to believe what the characters are saying. So that was sort of the idea that we ended up with, to change the style but keep the core concept that what would the aftermath be from doing this whole proposal to somebody who doesn't want to be proposed to. So really sticking to that core idea and then finally showing you what the aftermath is of not thinking things through completely.
And that's it for this episode of On the Page. I hope you learned something. If you did, leave it in the comments below. Also, check out our podcast, Department Spotlight. We have a whole episode just on screenwriting, and we have lots of tips and tricks and tidbits that you can learn from all of our friends and colleagues there.
So remember to also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and tell all of your friends about it. Just everyone. Just share it on Facebook, share it on Instagram, share it on Twitter. Our handles and things are at Loop Pictures everywhere. So you can check us out. We release new videos every Tuesday and every Friday with a new short film on the first Friday of every month. So until next time, stay inside
and make your movie.